Okay, so, for some strange reason, you, whoever you are, have decided to play Ultima Online. If you've watched any of my previous videos, I've given a few tutorials on how to make certain characters, on how to take advantage of some of the mechanics. This video is going to be another kind of tutorial video. I'm going to show you how to turn the game into progress quest, because, let's be honest, parts of this game pretty damn boring, and if you can alleviate some of that tedium, well, it does make the rest of the game a little bit more interesting, I think, especially if you've built up characters in the past. If you actually know what you're doing, skipping the first part of the character creation just makes it bearable, I guess. I know that I don't want to be playing a completely noobified character anymore. I've done it more than enough times. I do suggest, if you've never played the game, if you're just getting into it to start with, that you don't completely play this way, that you actually do get out and play the game. But you can also use this to supplement your regular playing if you want to speed up your skill gain as well. But let's see, we'll start off by creating a new character. Doesn't matter what you call him, whatever you want to call him, of course. We're going to be Ernest McDoofus, and we'll have curly hair with a long beard. I guess that all looks good. Now, for the skills, I'm going to suggest clicking on Advanced, and then the first skill. This is if you want to get off straight into combat. If you've never played the game before, these skills will probably make it a little bit easier. I always suggest healing to start out with. You can get band-aids to heal yourself extremely cheaply, and if you get your healing skill up to 60, you can actually cure poison that way. You need 60 healing and another skill, actually. We'll talk about that too. But healing, that way you can more or less get out there and start fighting almost immediately. You don't have to progress quest your way through the night. The second skill is a tough one. Magery is very useful if you plan to have a mage type character. Magery can actually benefit all characters, even if you're a warrior. It's an extremely versatile skill to use, and if you plan on playing seriously and getting competitive in PvP and actually maybe standing your ground a bit, you will more or less need this skill in order to compete. The other skill that is extremely useful is resisting spells, because the other thing, since everybody has magery, that means that everybody is going to constantly be dumping spells on you. And if you don't have resist magic, resisting spells here, they will be doing huge chunks of damage to you, and you won't really stand a chance in combat if you decide to do that. So, I think we'll go ahead and just choose magery for now. And the third skill doesn't really matter, because we're not going to put any points into it. You can choose, let's see, what gets me boots? That way I don't have to run around with shoes. I think it's tracking, maybe. I'm going to put 1 point into tracking. And the other reason I'm not choosing resist spells, even though it's extremely useful, if you're actually out in the dungeons, hunting monsters and getting skill scrolls, then you will level up your resisting spells skill extremely quickly. Well, not extremely quickly, but fairly quickly, to the point that putting 50 points into it at the very beginning is almost a waste. You want 60 points in strength here, because that is your hit points. Dexterity is how far you can run and how quickly you can swing your weapon, and intelligence is how many spells you can cast. There's various ways to balance your stats here, but everybody, I believe, goes for 100 strength. In the end, you will be raising these stats throughout the entire game, but you can alleviate the tedium of raising these by turning it into progress quest, which I'll be showing you how. So we'll just click next after that, and it brings us here. We start with a whole bunch of stuff that we don't really need to worry about. and a robe. Some of the robes that you start out with have a rare hue number, and people will actually pay you a handsome reward if you get a rare robe, because they'll cut it into cloth and make other clothes out of it. Now, if you have followed the instructions on the wiki that I linked to, you will have this little program here, Razor. This is what you will be using extensively in order to make some of the tedium of this game disappear. But all we're going to worry about for now is finding out the color of this robe. We can look at it visually, but we don't have concrete proof of what color it is. To find the color, we click on Display Counters here, click on Add, and then click on Target, and then click on whatever clothing you want the color of, and it'll tell you. This is color 1304. There are various numbers that are extremely rare, and again, if you get a rare number, you can make a lot of gold by selling that to somebody else. If you go on the forums, or maybe even down in the description below, I'll put a link to a guide on color hues. That way you can see if you've got anything that'll make you some money. It helps selling the cloth for money. It'll get you some spell money, some money for weapons, armor, band-aids, because we only started with 50 band-aids, and that's not going to last us very long. But again, this video is more or less if you don't want to play the game. If you want to turn it into progress quest, if you want to bypass some of this, I'm going to show you what to do here. Alt-R changes the size of your radar, and it makes it show up if you accidentally right-click on it and make it disappear. Your character sheet there, Alt-P, will bring that up, and you just drag and drop your clothes and your weapons and things like that. Double click on your backpack to open it. This scroll here that you double click on, this is how you can invite people to your party. Be careful who you invite to your party, especially if you give them looting rights. They could loot all of your stuff and not go criminal, or they could kill you. Also, I'm going to click on the edge of the window here and just drag it up into the corner. There we go. This is our health bar. We can bring that up by just holding down left click and dragging on something, and that will bring up their health bar. If you drag on yourself, you get this one. Double click on it, expands it, and I'm just going to park it down in the corner here. Okay, so we've got all that set up. The first place we're going to stop, and I'm going to show you, is where you can work your weapon skills at. You can do this overnight, and you will gain skill, you will gain strength, dexterity, and occasionally intelligence from this. So if you let this run for 2 or 3 nights, you'll be able to come back probably with like 60 or 70 weapon skill, maybe 80 strength and 30 dexterity or something like that. But again, this is you're not playing the game if you do this. It's boring. It turns the game into a screensaver. But if you've been through the character creation process enough times, you know, going through the process of actually attacking sheep and rats and things like that, you just kind of don't want to do it anymore. You want to get to the juicier parts of the game. Especially also since you can log in multiple accounts. So you can have one character doing this, you know, training skills on these dummies here, and you can be playing another character out in the world, which is pretty much what I do. Now, what we're going to do with these dummies, there are 3 different types. There's the silver ones that are the advanced training dummies, the gold ones that are the master's training dummies, and the tan ones that are just regular training dummies. Whenever you're just starting out and you don't have any skill, you want the regular training dummies. So you'll take whatever weapon you've got. Let's see, I started with, because I took tracking. Tracking started me with those boots there. Those boots will stay with you even if you die. And if you are playing dress-up Barbie dolls with your characters, I think boots look a little bit better than shoes, let's be honest, okay? Leather boots sure beat some little dinky cloth sack shoes. But yeah, back to the weapons. I started with a dagger, which will work on fencing, and a skinning knife, which works on swords. There is also a macing skill, and you can go buy a macing weapon fairly cheap. We're just going to put one of the weapons in our hands, and we need to find a dummy that is open. We can't use any dummy but the regular training dummy. These dummies are constantly used, and there's some open ones here. That's good. Here's an open one. To use the dummy, just double click on it, and you'll see we'll start practicing with it. Our swords jumps up by 0.4%, our tactics goes up by 0.1%. Our swords skill determines how likely we are to hit with our weapon, and tactics, I believe, determines how much damage we do with our weapon. That might not be completely accurate. I'm not sure if tactics also affects accuracy, but if you've got 0 swords and you're going against a creature or another person that has 50 swords or 60 swords or more, you're not going to be able to hit them because you just don't have the skill for it. And if you do hit them, since your tactics are so low, you're not going to do a whole lot of damage. But you can just double click on it to raise your skill. However, if you don't want to do that, you can pull up Razor, bring it up, click on the macro tab here, and click on new to make yourself a new macro. We're just going to name this training dummy regular, and that'll bring it up in your little window here. I've got a bunch of macros. You'll probably only have one if you're just learning how to do this. So you'll find it, and then you'll click on record. Then you click back into your window, double click on the knife, or wait a second, hang on. I'm going to just click record, don't double click on your knife, and then just double click on the dummy. There we go. I was making that too complicated, too wrong actually. But if you just record it and then double click on it, you can click on loop to loop this, and then click on play, and you will just sit there and continually swing at the dummy without having to click on anything. So you can go read a book, play another character, play another game, go to sleep, go to work, do whatever else you want to do, and whenever you come back you'll have increased your skills a fair amount, and your stats as well. These training dummies will only take you up to 35 skill, the advanced will take you up to 65, and I have no idea what the Masters training dummies will take you up to. Maybe 75 or 80? I've never actually maxed out on any of the Masters training dummies, because by the time I can get to using those, I generally am just taking my characters out into the dungeons. If you go to the dungeons and hunt, you get 300% skill gain. So you gain skill a lot quicker in dungeons. But there's that. And I'm just going to click stop. And by the way, you'll see that it says double click and then has this string of numbers here. That ties into this specific dummy. So whichever dummy you clicked on is the only dummy that will work with your macro here. Unless you right click on this line, the double click line, and go to retarget. And then you can walk over to another dummy, retarget it, and there you go. That's how you change that fairly quickly and easily. And you can set these macros up to do various things. So you can be double clicking on this, and let's see. If you don't want to completely erase your macro, if you want to add to it, just right click on the box and then click begin recording here. Now let's say I want to also hide while we're working on that. We'll pull up our skill scroll, go to wilderness, where is it? Or maybe it's miscellaneous. Or maybe it's thieving. Here it is. So what we'll do is we'll left click and hold and drag out a little button for hiding. And this will allow us to use the hiding skill. So we'll double click on hiding and click stop on the recording, and now it'll have us clicking on the dummy to train our sword skill and hiding to work on our hiding skill. So you can be working on lots of things at once with your character. well, you're not actually there. Again, you can turn this game into progress quest if you want to, or if you need to, if you don't have enough time to constantly play, but you still want to gain skill. There are lots of things that you can add while you're doing this. You can be clicking on the dummy, you can be hiding, you can be using other skills if you want to work on something else. Like, another good skill to work on if you plan to be a warrior while you're doing that is, where is it? I think it is the anatomy skill. So just drag out a button, and anatomy works a little bit differently. I'm gonna remove hiding here by just clicking remove action. So let's say you want to work on anatomy while you are working on your dummy. We're just going to record over the whole thing again. So what we'll do is we'll be recording a fresh macro, double click on the dummy, double click on your anatomy skill, and then double click on some, or don't double click, but just single click on somebody around you, and you will use your anatomy skill. Then just click stop, and there you go. Anatomy, you can see it adds a few more lines to the macro here, because anatomy also brings up a targeting cursor, and it chooses who to use that cursor on. If it doesn't get a cursor, it will actually wait for about 30 seconds before timing out and then moving on. So you have to keep an eye on how you set these macros up. You can kind of mess them up so that they don't work, and the more you mess with these and figure it out yourself, the more advanced you'll be able to make them. You can make them extremely advanced, and at some point I might make a video showing how to train more skills all at once, like how to train magery. This is just an example. You can have the macro grab magic reagents from your bank box, cast a spell, then meditate to regain mana, all at the same time while applying bandages to heal yourself, and be working on multiple skills that way, which you will probably be doing if you play the game long enough. You'll be wanting to do all of that stuff, I can assure you. But the next thing I wanted to go over was how to make additional money in the game. If you're just starting out, you'll notice that one of the hardest things to do is to actually get gold so you can do anything. Because the first couple times you die, you know, the gold you start out with is gone. You suddenly have no weapons, you have no reagents to cast magic spells with. It is a fairly bad situation to find yourself in, and probably one of the hardest situations throughout the entire game. Once you get more established skill-wise and with resources, then the game, it's not so hard. It actually becomes a little bit more fun. But multiple ways to get gold here. I'm going to show you one of the easier ways that doesn't involve any fighting at all. It may involve a lot of running, but this is also another great way to get yourself, what is that word? To get yourself familiar with the cities and locations in this world. We're going to do a very boring escort mission. Well, we might not do it, I don't know. Maybe we will. But if you run around these large cities, you will occasionally find blue-named NPCs looking for an escort. Generally over in this area, there's a fairly large number of them. Up around here, they hang out by the taverns and the inns. This is a tavern right here. You can see the NPC, a tavern keeper. This is a fairly popular way, it seems like, to make money too, because it's so damn easy. You don't have to fight, and if you are able to teleport around the world, you don't even have to leave the city. Is this guy one of them? Yes. There's two ways to do this. You can say, what is your destination? And he will tell you. You can double click on him, it'll bring up the peasant, it'll tell you if they're looking for an escort sometimes, if they're a noble, or you can hold shift and left click on him and it'll bring up this menu, and you can also ask destination. Well, quit dancing around, buddy. Yeah, ask destination, and he'll tell you where he wants to go. And you can say, I will take thee, and he will start following you. I'd rather not take him, because I don't know how to get to Trinsic, now that I think about it. But you can also accept the escort through this menu by shift and left click, and you can abandon the escort. However, if you abandon an escort, I believe it will be quite a while before you can accept another one. So, we've accepted an escort. I don't exactly know where Trinsic is, but if you're going to be escorting people on a fresh character, the only way to really move about is by running down this way to the Moon Gate system. The Moon Gates will take you to various cities across the land, and for the most part they're in fairly safe locations. You're not going to be in a whole lot of danger running down this road to the Moon Gate, or from any Moon Gate to any city. The wilderness does have its own dangers. There's monsters, wild animals, the occasional murderer, but murderers are not as bad on this server as maybe I've made it out to be in the past, or as bad as it's been on other servers you might have played on. Murderers do have a fairly hard time on this server. They get penalized quite harshly, and so they play it safer than just randomly roaming newbie areas, slaughtering helpless newbies. This Moon Gate portal, if you look at the map up here, I believe that this is to the city of Moonglow. I could be wrong. You can just left click once on the Moon Gate and it'll give you a description of where it's taking you. Once you learn these descriptions, you'll know exactly where it's going just by looking through it. But we'll double click on it and we go into another area. I don't think this is where I'm looking for. It might be though. This is Skara Brae, and it is a completely isolated island. It's a very newbie-friendly island. The entire island is on a guard zone, and if you watched any of my previous videos, you'll know how to get across to the other side, which also has a fairly good newbie hunting ground that is decently safe. But we don't want to come here. We don't have to deliver him here. This town... let me see... this town might actually be Trinsic. It's got these walls here. Trinsic was never a real big city of mine. I didn't much care for it. But we'll run down this way and see if we can find our way inside the gates. There's a rare skeleton. A regular skeleton. They could probably kill us right now. A ghoul. Yeah, a ghoul could certainly kill us. So this is obviously a dangerous route. If an NPC asks you to go to Trinsic, just say no. Unless you can run through here. You can see all these player houses here. You can own a house in this game and decorate it as gaudily as you want. But okay, this place does have a back entrance. We have arrived, I think the Urist McDoofus. And so, let's see. He gave us 178 gold. Not bad. If you want to be safe, there's a bank in every town that you can drop your gold off in. But we will have to run back to that Moon Gate. I don't even know where the bank is in this town. Again, I really disliked this town. Don't know why. There's somebody named Kip. Kip the Groom. Maybe he needs to be escorted somewhere. What's the destination? Mynock. I can get him to Mynock. Oh, we must rest 1 minute. So, there is a little cooldown on how many people you can escort. Again, because if you're a mage that can open moon gates, you can just zip from one city to the next in like 5 seconds. So, yeah, you can escort people fairly quickly. But if you're on foot, it looks like it won't be that bad. Time-wise, by the time you actually make your escort delivery, your timer might be reset. Is this the bank? Wait, this might be the bank. There's another person, another NPC, Alan the Messenger. Let's see, where do you want to go? He wants to go to Britain, which is, actually fine by me. Can I take you yet? Lead on. Payment will arrive when we reach Britain. Okay, here's the bank in this town. Hopefully you followed me on the menu there, up on this map, if you even care about this place. So, we will make our way towards Britain then. Back to the Moon Gate, and I'll show you guys what a few of the other cities are. We already saw Scarabray, Intrinsic, and Moonglow. There's another NPC. See, they're all over the place, you just have to find them. I'm not sure if they're in every city, but I would imagine they are. And again, this won't get you any skill. This won't get you any stats. It'll just help you navigate the world and set aside a little bit of gold if you die and lose everything. Not the most exciting thing in the world. Basically just jogging back and forth. My stamina was running fairly low there, so we're just gonna kind of sit here and chill for a minute. Let me see. Let me think about what else I can show you guys. There's another way to make money, now that I think about it. And I guess I'll show you guys that way. Pretty much everybody, I would say, has done this next thing at one point or another. Primarily because this is simply it's the safest way to make money. It's not the best way to make money. The best way is in dungeons. The best way is in selling rares, buying and selling rares on the rare market. Having a really good vendor spot, and being a well-known crafter, which at this point in the server's lifetime, it will be fairly hard to accomplish that. You know, I don't know where I'm going. This place is an absolute disaster. Oh, help me. There's gotta be a ramp somewhere. Don't tell me I climbed up the mountain here and now have no way to get down. The Moon Gate is over to my west, my southwest. God damn, there's a lot of stuff here. There is one thing you will notice about the world if you do decide to run around like a psychopath like this. There are monsters everywhere. The monsters have taken over the countryside, and you will easily be swarmed if you are not careful. So here we are, back at the Moon Gate. This Moon Gate is to the town of Minok. You can tell, A, because it has this building here, that this is somebody's house, and it has the road here on the radar and this little green strip of flat land. If you ever played the game Pirates and had to decipher and decode those maps, doing this should become second nature to you. This is the Moon Gate to the town of Yew, Y-E-W, and this is one of the most heavily populated vendor areas. There are vendors all over the place. Hey, there's also items on the ground. A feathered pimp hat. Hell yeah, let's put that on. A gorget, crafted by Michio Kaku. I'll take that, why not? A dye tub. If you keep your eyes peeled, you can find items laying all over the ground. But yeah, this is a very populated vendor area. These are all player vendors, not real people, and if you double click on them, they will show you what they're selling. This is Violent Beard's vendor. He's a notorious cutthroat, but he does constantly stock all of his stuff. So if you're ever looking for supplies and you can't find them anywhere else, you can come shop here. But do know that if you're shopping here, it's kind of like doing business with Walmart. Sometimes you just have to do it though. But there's vendors all over the place. And if you want to buy something from one of these vendors, you just walk up to the vendor and say, vendor buy. It'll bring up a targeting cursor for you. Here. vendor buy. It'll bring up a targeting cursor. You can click on what you want to buy. A little menu will pop up, it'll tell you how much you're buying it for. Always verify this, and what you're buying. Verify that it's what you want. If you single left click on the item, it'll tell you what it is and generally how much it's being sold for, I think. Yeah, price 105 right there. So just be careful whenever you're shopping. Make sure that you're actually buying what you want. There are scammers out there, and there are various ways that they will try to get your money from you without having to kill you for it. Oh yeah, to buy anything from a player vendor, you don't have to have the gold on you. The gold can be setting in your bank account, so don't load up on gold and go shopping. Just leave the money in your bank account and use it that way. But that's a very popular area. Once you start getting into the game and looking for supplies, that's probably where you'll do most of your shopping, right around there. Let's see. That town that I was at was the town of Jahalem. I don't know anything about it, so I'm not even going to bother talking about it. But this Moongate is back to Britain. And we're going to go deliver this guy. You know it's Britain because of those two buildings and because of this little hook road that runs along the map there. When you learn the when you start using the moon gates a lot, you'll also learn which houses are around which moon gates, because those houses are extremely valuable and generally don't ever disappear. Yay! We've gained in compassion and in fame. Compassion is a virtue, but it doesn't actually do anything on this server yet. Hopefully it never does. I don't know what they could possibly add that it would be used for, but it's not important. Don't have to worry about it at all. But yay, we're back home to the slums of Sosaria. One of the most lovely towns in the world. Mos Eisley, Zozo, all rolled into one. It's a hellhole. But the second way to make money, and this is another thing that you can do overnight, that a lot of people do, so don't be afraid to use it, it's probably not going anywhere, is fishing. You'll notice there's a lot of fishing people standing around. To go fishing, buy yourself a fishing rod. They're only 15 gold. Don't worry about the lobster cages for now. And there you go. Sign your name, and now you've got a fishing pole. You don't have to equip the fishing pole, but I'm going to anyways. And then you need to find some place to go fishing. It can be anywhere where there's water. This town, there's no telling how many fishers it has. It is the city of fishers. There's a fisher right there, no doubt. They're all over the place. Everybody has at least 1 or 2 or 3 fishers. Here, maybe we can fish right here. Now what we're going to do here is make a new macro here. So pull up your razor, click on your macro tab, click on new, and we're just going to call this fishing tut for fishing tutorial. Now, to use fishing in one place, this is just the simple way to do fishing. Go to wherever you want to fish and click record. Double click on your fishing pole and then just click on the water. And then click stop. And you'll be fishing. And that's your macro. And you see, we fish for a while but fail to catch anything. But we do gain a little bit of skill in fishing. And the longer we do this, the more likely it will be that we'll catch fish. If, by some crazy chance, you're crazy enough to fish long enough to get your skill up to 100, which is the highest any skill can go, is 100 points, you can sail out to the deep ocean on a boat and fish up SOSs, messages in bottles, and you can then go on like a treasure hunt for those and fish up treasure chests that have gold, weapons, armor, and things like that in them. That is another great way to make money. In fact, that's the aim of everyone who plays as a fisherman, is to sail the high seas, dodging pirates, and fishing up treasure. The ride to get there is extremely frickin' boring. It will take you almost a month of macroing your fishing skill in order to get 100 points in it. And that's if you fish extremely efficiently. However, on our macro here, back to that, we're not done with it yet. We need to right click and go to special constructs here, and then put insert pause wait. Click on pause for, and I think maybe 6,000 milliseconds should be good enough. Let's test it out. We'll click play, and we'll start fishing, and that was not long enough. You can see it says we are already fishing. So we want to change 6 seconds in our macro here because that's too short. Let's edit that, and let's take that up to 9,000 milliseconds. We have to make sure that it's not overlapping and that we're fishing pretty much as quickly as we can. We don't want any downtime between our casts. And I think 9 seconds is pretty damn close. You might be able to shave it off to like 8.75 seconds or something like that if you wanted to. But this is good enough. And this is your basic fishing macro. Let it run for as long as you want. Definitely don't sit here and watch this shit because this is really damn boring. But let it run. Your strength and dexterity will go up. If you're working on a warrior character, just click on the arrow next to your brain here and lock your intelligence. That way you only gain strength and you only gain dexterity. And you can do that for any stat. If you're working on a mage character, maybe you don't want any more dexterity, so you get it to as high as you want it to go and you lock it. If I haven't explained yet, or if you didn't see in any of my previous videos, your strength, your dexterity, and your intelligence can all reach 100 points. 100 points is as high as you can go in your stats or your skills. But the total of your stats here can only add up to 225. There are 2 different builds that people use with their stats. Everybody that I know has 100 strength. Don't even think about having less. If you're working on a warrior character, you want to have 100 strength, 100 dexterity, and 25 intelligence. That's because intelligence is only useful in casting spells. If you're working on a mage character, you want 100 strength, 25 dexterity, and 100 intelligence. There may be some hybrid builds where you steal points from dexterity or from intelligence and add it to dexterity, or vice versa for your characters. But the most efficient builds are min-max builds, to be honest, and that's just how it goes. So, again, that's the hardest thing to work on, and this will work it slowly, but it will take time. So let me get Razor out of there. Unfortunately, I haven't fished up any fish yet. I'll show you guys what to do with fish once I get some, so let me pause the recording and I will be back as soon as I have caught a fish. Because, we're fishing, we're gaining skill, we're gaining stats, but we haven't gained any money doing this yet. So how the hell do we do that? Well, let me show you. Okay, well that didn't take too long, and we already caught our first fish. Oh wow, look at that big, badass bass there. Sea bass. With the fish, what we do is we take the dagger that you started with. Everyone should start with a dagger. Not everyone is going to start with a skinning knife, but everybody will start with a dagger. Double click on your dagger, and then just click on your fish, and you will chop it into fish steaks. Now you're like, how do I make money with fish steaks? Well, you come over to the fishers here, the fisherman, the fisher, and shift left click on them, and then go to sell, and, well, it will bring up a menu asking you to sell the fish. I've got apparently an automatic seller turned on here. Let's see. Yeah, I do. Let's see, I'll show you how to do this. Well, Damn it. I need more fish. I'll be back. Okay, well, let's try this whole fish selling thing one more time. We've got a few fish here, 2 fish. Again, cut the fish into fish steaks, because that's what we need. So we have 2 fish steaks there. I'm going to show you how to sell them quickly. Pull up a razor, go to Agents, and on this drop-down menu, go to the Sell section. The more you fish, and the more skill you get, you're going to be fishing up a lot of junk that you want to get rid of. You're going to be fishing up boots, thigh boots, shoes, sandals, and we're going to be wanting to sell the raw fish steaks. To add something to the sell menu here, just click on Add Target, and then find whatever you want to sell. It'll be whatever is in your backpack. So let's say you've been fishing for 5 hours. You'll come back, and if you're making your list for the first time, you'll click on the boots, the thigh boots, the shoes. You'll click on all the junk that you've fished up that you want to sell. The only thing you can't sell that you will fish up are the small, tiny piles of fish. The only thing you can do is double click on those and eat them or throw them on the ground. But on the sell menu, click Add Target, and then click on the fish steaks. That'll add raw fish steaks to the sell menu, and then whenever you shift left click on the vendor here and go to sell, you'll instantly sell the fish steaks. If you don't do this, whenever you go to sell, it'll just bring up a menu. You'll choose what you want to sell from the menu and then do it that way. This way, though, just saves you a bunch of clicks and going through a bunch of menus there. It's a time saver, and if there's one thing you're going to learn with this game, the longer you play it, is that saving time is a mind saver. It'll save you from going crazy. I believe that is all that I want to show you guys for now, though. I've showed you how to work on your fighting skills, your combat skills, without even having to play. I've showed you how to make escort money without even having to go fight in the dungeons or risk anything at all, unless you just can't run to a city. The hardest thing you'll have doing on those escort missions, first off, is finding where to go. I didn't cover all of the cities. You can easily Google yourself a map for this game and find your way around that way. If you're serious about doing it, I'm sure you'll go the extra mile. And I showed you how to do fishing. The most gold you can make per day with fishing is about 2,000 gold per fisher, and that's if you're just setting in one place fishing. If you find a really good place to fish, now the place I showed you guys to fish was just hitting one tile of water. I was basically just casting out right in front of me. If you find a little peninsula, kind of like this right here, but it'd have to be more pronounced, you can fish in 3 different areas, and you'll get skill gain 3 times as fast, and fish 3 times as fast, I guess. Because if you're just fishing in one tile, that area becomes overfished after not very long, and then it takes a while to replenish the fish in it. So if you're hitting 3 different areas, you can see that you can make gold and skill fairly quickly. So if you're crazy enough to have 3 fishers running, you can make about 5,000 to 7,000 gold per day, and that can easily fund any characters that you want to make. If you want to work on magery, that's a really good way to fund it. If you just want to set money aside for a house, that'll do it. I think I have 3 GM fishers. That's fishers with 100 skill. And I think by the time I got all 3 of them to GM status, I had about 120,000 gold saved up, which got me a house, a guild, and allowed me to almost get my magery up to GM. So, extremely useful and lazy way to make money. It is not 100% safe, because there are thieves who roam around the town at night killing fishers. People who just stand here and fish. They'll kill you with explosion potions, and then they'll take all of your fish and shoes and go sell them. But for the most part, it's a great way to make gold, to raise your stats. You can see I only did this for like 5 minutes, and I already gained 1 strength and 1 dexterity. There is a limit to how many stats you can gain in one day. I don't know what it is, but it will take you probably about a week or two. Well, hopefully not 2 weeks, but maybe a week of solid fishing and working on your fighting skills in order to max out your stats here with whatever build you want to go with. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. I don't know what the next one will be. I might just take one of my fairly well developed characters out and go dungeon hunting or go exploring around the world or something. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't have any PvP characters, so you won't really be seeing any of that from me yet. I'm trying to make a PvP character, but I suck at PvP. I'm not quick enough on the reflexes. The PvP in this game is extremely fast-paced. Most of the time. Most of the people I run into in PvP seem to know what they're doing. I don't run into that many new people who stumble around like me. So it's not going to be something you see very often from me. But here's the bank for this town too, if you didn't know it. You just walk up to it, type the word bank and say it, and we can drop off a little bit of our money now. So in that little bit of time we made 300 some gold. Not that much, but you can see it can quickly add up. And I will see you in the next video, whatever it is.